Wow, that was our bit on stage. This was interesting. So you guys online kind of hijacked the discussion from purely on outsourcing, what services to outsource, back to last year's topic on what are the roles of convention bureaus and who does what in the market. As said, I saw some of you chat about that you have some good questions for our panel. They'll be coming here in a minute, but to fill up the time, to give them a chance to step off stage, I'm actually inviting here in the studio James Rees, who's the Executive Director of Excel in London, a very large venue. James, welcome, good morning, please join me. You were in the audience this morning and you have been listening to what has been unfolding here. What are some of the comments and takeaways that struck you?
Well,
yeah. Please hold them close. Okay. Yeah.
I'm interested.
A little closer. Yeah, okay. There, like an ice cone.
Okay, all right. As a venue, and I work at Excel London. We're a tier 1 city, and we see what's happening with the development of biggest international association events going forward. The one thing that strikes me that the panel started to talk on, I would have liked to hear a little bit more on, is where are our events going in the next 10 to 15 years?
Yeah.
To my mind, the tradition of content being, a speaker coming on stage and delivering content and people sitting and listening, that's going to be dead in the next 10 to 15
you really
years.
See that conflict happen in this session right here. These guys online are like, but ask them this and go this, and
exactly.
there, and there. Should be much more interactive.
And my view always is that meetings.
Oh,
sorry.
Okay. Yeah, there we go. They can't hear you at home. So hold it close, like an ice cone. There we go. Yeah.
Meetings reflect life, and all the way meetings are run reflect life. We spend more and more of our time
on a digital device
with these.
Yeah.
Our lives are being run. There is technology now where you can turn your thermostat on at home through your phone, and content now and learning is going to be more and more, particularly with the Generation Y, Generation Z learning style, if you like. People will go, if they just want to learn something, you can find it on the internet.
Yeah.
Now, so meetings need to do what the internet cannot do.
And should be about doing things.
Exactly, but also, in my view, what meetings can do is create experiences and create memories. And so what meetings now have to do is the ability to take ideas or issues, share them with the community of that association, and allow the community, that the meeting should create ways of the community to find the solutions to the problems.
Exactly. Actually work on something.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was interesting. There's companies now that have their offices, and they have all these different departments, and I can't remember the name. It's a big technology company, but their CEO said, in the office space, I want to create collisions.
Yeah.
So the toilets and the kitchen, tea, coffee area is in the middle of the office.
Yeah, so everybody needs
has
to go there.
So they go there.
It's all about meetings.
It's about meeting, and it's contact, and it's network, and then they start talking. They start talking about issues and problems are solved sometimes by the department maybe you don't think has the solution. And I think, and as I said, the conversation started to reflect that.
Yeah.
That's the way things are going.
That's your key thing yourself. So if we summarize, the future of associations will definitely be around meetings, and meetings will be key of all those connections and networks to materialize.
Yes.
We also talked a bit about what services they outsource. We did the poll. Everybody said their meeting logistics should be outsourced. And then Martin already briefly mentioned the role about venues. Because obviously you could say you guys hire bricks, right? Yeah. But hey, that's a commodity. Yeah. And you see this trend in the market where venues start to do more and more services. Yeah. How do you guys approach that?
Well, we, as a business, we're a private business. So we have to... we cannot not make a profit, or our shareholders would be unhappy. But we're a fair business, and we're a good business. But what we've done, we're relatively young. We're only 14 years old.
Yeah.
And when we started out as a venue, certain departments were outsourced.
Yeah.
Cleaning, traffic, engineering. But as the business grew and we became more professional in what we did, we then insourced those departments, and we found that by better management, we could do things better than the outsourced companies, and we could do it more efficiently.
Exactly.
So I see in certain areas, associations, particularly that want to grow and become more international,
might go down the same route.
That same road.
So that would actually mean in the future there will be more insourcing, you're saying?
Insourcing, but also as a venue, we can say to an association, well, we have expertise in, let's say, electrical installations.
Yep.
You don't have to outsource the electrical installations. We can do it for you. So there's certain services that we can do.
Yeah.
I do still think so. There's a good reason to insource, and I think associations should do what they can do, what they don't have to outsource. That's what we do as a venue. What we can do, we do, and we do it well. And I think associations should do the same. Then there are certain areas where financially it makes sense to outsource. So I think the clever mixture of insourcing and outsourcing is probably
that's where the key holds, and that's something everybody has to figure out for themselves. Right?
Exactly, and then Martin was talking about bidding. You know, don't do the same thing every time. Well, actually, for an association, each association will have different setups.
Exactly. So they need tailored. Approach.
So I think so. Meeting logistics, there was a lot of people, as you say, said, "Oh, definitely outsource." I don't agree. I think there are if you have a good, strong team, if the association can cope with the financial, the operation of having a department of your own team, then they can do it. You could, to find a venue, you can go on the internet. You don't need to go to a specialist venue finder anymore.
All right.
However,
you'll probably get some tweets on that quote.
But there are times. You know, if I want to go to Kenya. I don't know Kenya.
You need a man on the ground.
So that's where you look at specialists.
Exactly.
But if you can do it in your own city, then and I think you can have more control. So it's a balance. And we work with PCOs. We have great relationships with PCOs and associations. And I think there is, as the future of the meetings industry continues to grow, because I think there will continue to be that desire for face-to-face. We all have to find our new parts. And I think, again, the reflection here with Jarno, in that a lot of their profitability is coming through technological solutions. Now, that's not just AV and cameras. It's
the whole bit.
Apps. It's the ability to drive knowledge through to members, through new applications and new technology.
Talking about Jarno, I think he's ready to come on and take his big heap of questions that you guys have been piling up. James, very much for joining me. I wish you a great conference today. You'll be on stage a lot more, I guess. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thanks,
all right,
Gerrit.
have a great trip back.
Okay, bye.
And I guess that's the cue. And I saw the questions coming up. Guys, panel, Jarno and Finn and Karen, if you're ready. Please move around the table. Step in the little studio. Karen, please join us, because they have been piling up some questions. If you stand in the front here, and Finn, if you come with me right here. Jarno, if you move a little bit over, there we go. Because how this is going to work, we have Gerdie behind you. She's been moderating and piling up all the questions. So let's hit it. Let's see what comes up. And as I told you, they've been liking questions, and we'll see how it goes. Gerdie, what happened?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the online audience for all those questions they've been asking. I'm really trying to find out what's the most important one. I'll start with another one before we go to the most likes. And that is, this is going so fast. Let's see. Okay, before we kick off, we'd like to focus on outsourcing, because the discussion on stage has been a bit about bidding. But the people online think we've had that for now.
Okay.
So focus on outsourcing, please. And James, he is getting a lot of votes saying, we know that lots of CVBs who complain about lack of transparency from associations about their realistic prospects of success need honesty and transparency see on all sides. And I've seen that comment coming back more often, also that destinations have already been chosen, but still a request for proposals been sent out. So that's a question for Karen and Finn, I think, to answer.
All right.
Well, it was actually a question yesterday about transparency. It was yours, so I'm going to let you start, Finn.
Okay, so as far as we're concerned, we would always try and be transparent with all of the partners that we work with. Yeah. In relation to the selection or the choice of destination, there's a kind of a hierarchy of decision, which is that initially our board would say, okay, we want to be in Asia in 5 years' time. Yeah. That's the strategic decision. It's then left up to us in the business to say, okay, so which country, based on market size, market potential, and once we've picked the market, we then start looking at the cities. If we then decide to deal with a CVB or a DMC or a PCO, we would always say, this is why we're here. I don't think we've ever made any secret of our budgets, and I can only speak for ourselves. I don't think we've made any secret of our budgets.
So you guys choose to make that transparent, yeah?
Yep. Well, because we know, I've worked in this industry all my life, so I know as a service supplier that it is very important to have if somebody's commissioning your services, that it's all up front and on the table. To me, it's the best basis on which you build a partnership.
However, I think this question is also a little bit more tailored to a question that that was shared yesterday on stage about numbers changing. Right? Yesterday on stage we talked about closing a deal or a conference about 6 years before it actually happens. You're coming to Rotterdam in 2016. Right now in all the bidding books it might say that you expect about 5,000 delegates and 50,000 square meters of exhibition. And then all of a sudden it's 2015 and it appears to be... I think the question is into that and how to deal with that kind of transparency, right?
Yeah, I think that was Celia's question yesterday. Yeah. So she was talking about how to go about renegotiating the contract. I mean, I'd agree with Finn. We try to make our budget as transparent as possible because it's not to our advantage not to. These are the funds that we're using to operate our meeting. What may happen is there is a very different language that's used with PCOs and association management companies and venues that is not used by associations. Yeah. And there is often confusion because we mean one thing, they mean another thing, and it's very easy for misunderstandings to occur with regards to costs and what the expectations are. Yeah.
I see you nodding fiercely.
Yeah, it is something because it comes also from the point that being expectation, if you negotiate a venue, they give a better price the more people will arrive. Yeah. On the other end, if we say we want to have the best price, but there might be a fluctuation in delegates because it's just an ever-changing market, and especially in Celia's example, it was wind energy. And yeah, that doesn't have 60 to 100 years of history and statistics because it's such an upcoming economic phenomenon. Exactly, so that's but then openness, and also from a venue, I think one of the solutions yesterday said, okay, the longer you subscribe or contract in advance, but there is a fluctuation, but that will bring the discount down because generally you work with a discount, and if we can give, well, on everything, it's discount is a strange thing if you don't know the initial price, but you can give a discount of 40% in advance. Okay, this is what you get.
Based on a certain
if you go under this amount, you lose 10%. If you go under this and this volume, and it's just volume based, so that it gives security to the venue. Okay, if they just decrease, it gives also security to the association. If they increase, there's flexibility. They know what they expect to have is at least blocked and available to them, and I think in these kind of ways. But it's again, you create partnership.
So to wrap that up, we can learn, you guys say to association viewers, massive transparency, that's at least what you do, and that helps the whole relationship and the partnership. You say flexible contracts with which apply to those skills.
Can I interject just one final
Yes,
point?
Of course, and then we'll go to the next question.
One of the things that I mentioned yesterday as a kind of a segue into this was the situation that we had in Asia, where over a period, we had planned to hold a...
Maybe you should redo that story a bit, because the viewers see it for a bit, because you would go to...
Very simple, we were planning to hold a conference in Indonesia, and the tsunami hit, so we had to postpone it. We then put it back for a couple of years, and the year that we planned to have it, the bombs went off in Jakarta, so we shifted it to Bangkok. And then the riots happened in Bangkok, and this is 4 weeks before the actual conference date. And we think, okay, well, we better fly out and try and sort something out. And then the volcano blew up, so there were no flights. So it was like just a complete, Now, I have to say that, all credit to all of the hotels and all of the agencies that we worked with, because they simply said, it can't be done, we've got to shift it. The shift, we eventually moved to Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, and we were able to get the hotel and the venue because, again, we have a very good local contact. It wasn't a DMC or a PCO, but we had somebody who got us into a hotel, could give us the rooms. Now, and in each stage, we would have lost a certain amount of money with all of the different, but to give all of the links in the chain absolute credit, they understood the situation, and it was done. The conference, I guess we may have lost 12 delegates, no more, which when you consider the entire chain of events was astonishing. So all credit to them.
I think in case of, let's say emergency, I don't know how to call it, we see a lot of flexibility as well. So in all, it's generally the planning
so
and
the
budgeting.
Stories.
Because that's we had examples of it as well, and that's, I think, we always advise association at that moment. I think you did absolutely the right way. If you move, for instance, from a destination, go back to the destination. It might, because the destination doesn't have an influence on the tsunami.
Exactly.
So, and that's their economic impact. Maybe 4 years later, it may need time, but that's one of the things, and that will help your relationship between you.
And that adds, which is becoming, I guess, the main theme of today. It's about partnerships, and that's kind of what Martin said in his wrap-up. Let's go to the next question. Are they liking them up? Because we give them some extra time to like them.
Burning discussions here, but mostly about the roles of PCOs versus DMCs. But I'll leave that topic online for the moment, because that's going into bid again, I think.
Exactly,
but there's an interesting question. There's 10 more questions now. What do the associations think about destination plus venue plus PCO plus DMC all under one roof and one project manager?
So I guess this is into the topic of complexity of management, right? Specifically when we talk about outsourcing, adding different suppliers who all have their own project manager and their own stakes and their own agendas and all that stuff. And I guess the question is, would that something you would desire? To have one?
I think the easy answer is to say yes.
Yeah.
The more difficult answer is to say yes, but does that person...
How would that work?
Yeah, how does it work? How does the experience come to bear? How do you get to all the, so...
I would say if the person's out there, send me a text message and I will hire you. Because if there's one person who can manage the venue, the catering, everything, that I would love it, but we're not even able to manage with one person a client. We have one contact person, but that's something different than doing abstracts or registration or logistical management. So there is a big difference.
What's your feeling about that?
I would have to have a better understanding of what that looked like and what their experience was putting on similar meetings.
Okay. So basically, to wrap that up, we can say yes, definitely there's complexity involved with all these suppliers and parties, but I don't know, maybe the viewer who posted that question can maybe clarify a bit if they have an example where that happened or something, but it definitely sounds desirable.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Then next question is, what do associations expect to outsource or insource in the future?
What services?
Which services?
Okay.
Yes.
And I can imagine that might be different per association. But Karen, if you would comment on that, do you see a certain movement there?
Oh, I think technology, communication is something that definitely will be outsourced in the future. Yeah. It's changing so rapidly. It's hard to keep up with that level of expertise, and we require it at a high level. So
yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah. It's not my role to debate with you, but I'm just thinking if you outsource all your technology, it also is becoming one of your key assets, referring to what you're saying. So that would kind of be tricky, maybe. But yeah, okay. So technology, Finn, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Karen. I mean, the infrastructure required to meet all of today's technological requirements is a huge undertaking for any small not-for-profit organization to put on its books. So I can only see that grow unless we suddenly decide, well, here's a present of $10 million and stick it. I mean, Google doesn't have these massive farms all over the world just to look pretty, but the resources that it requires to provide that kind of infrastructure is enormous.
And let's clarify a bit, because technology is a very broad term, from AV technology, internet, websites, apps, live streaming. I mean, the whole bit, or anything specific you're thinking about?
No, actually, right now I'm thinking about the whole bit. It's the expense of the...
Anything with bits and bytes.
Anything with bits and bytes. Yeah, the expense that our association would have to undertake, and then the shelf life for that would be relatively short. So I just don't see it as an investment at this point.
How, if you outsource the whole topic, so to speak, entirely, how would you be able to manage it? If all the knowledge of IT or technology is out of house, how would you source it? How would you judge your suppliers? How would you be able to be a valuable counterpart for them?
We go back to the single purchasing manager, that expert that we're looking for.
Yeah, okay. So there's a real role opening up there.
That's again one of the things that even we do. Well, we organize, even in Europe, over 100 conferences a year. We have sparring partners to discuss with on what's happening.
External consultants.
Yeah, external consultants, because
another thing to outsource,
in the end, we tend to know it all, but also the PCOs don't know it all. So that's how we build an infrastructure to keep the latest developments in our system and to be aware of it. And that's where I think a couple of partnerships come together, and then you together gain knowledge and share expertise. And I think your example with purchasing with different kinds of association related to yours makes it a stronger proposition to potential bidders to get and to understand it.
I think that's an interesting takeaway here. Before I go back to Gerdie, what we basically see is that we need a new role in the market, which is kind of the objective external technology purchasing consultant, right? That is, if you're out there and you're still young and you're wondering what business you should start, this is definitely something you could do.
There is a marketplace.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there is.
But I think to go back to which part of the technology, for us it will always be about the distribution.
Exactly.
Because in-house we will have the creative.
Exactly.
Content in our conferences, we tend to show a number of videos that we create ourselves. That's all done in-house.
Okay.
But it is the distribution and management thereafter that we would always wish to.
Cool. Gerdie, what's up next?
What's up next? Short question. Just one answer per person.
Yeah.
What would the panel never outsource?
What?
What would the panel never outsource?
Well, I'd say I never say never. So I think if an economic case was made for really any aspect, then I'd be willing to take a look at it if it's going to improve our efficiency and if it's going to reduce our cost.
Okay, so you have
then it would be something we would consider.
Yeah, and for you, Finn?
Yeah, no, I'd have to agree. I think it's all about efficiency. There are things that we think are holy to us, but if somebody were to come up and provide us with a solution, we'd always want to look at it.
Okay.
Always open to it.
Cool. In terms of timing, because I see you have a lot more, but I also see that it's past 10:30. This room is going to go into a next session and maybe the licensing. May I suggest that you actually join Gerdie and actually continue in the chat, kind of answer the questions there, so I can wrap up with Martin, but we actually continue a little bit through live chat and learn a valuable lesson that we should have an open white space of 90 minutes at least to go fully interactive with you guys on here next year. So for here on camera, I'd like to thank you very much for being here and your openness and your willingness to share your knowledge and experience. And please join Gerdie and go on through the live chat. They'll probably be able to see you on the Hangout as well. So that would be fun. Right. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Because as I said, the clock is ticking and I'd like to wrap up here with the guy that we started with this morning. Martin, please join me. 10:30 already, time flies when you're having fun.
Time flies, these sessions always go by in a blur.
Yeah.
And you always feel kind of frustrated that you haven't managed to get all of the points across, but it's very difficult. It's a short period of time, there's a very wide range of different questions we're getting from the audience.
Yeah.
And as you saw, there were a lot of people who wanted to morph the discussion from outsourcing into bidding.
And this is new reality, right? This is interactive events. Yeah.
Correct, and the reality is that they are related, of course. The structure of outsourcing will have a major impact on how you, as a supplier, handle your bidding.
Yeah.
You're now dealing with two different entities. You're dealing with the guys who are maybe doing the shortlisting and the people who are making the decision.
Yeah.
So you've got to think, how do you design your programs to attract both of those? And also, well, do you incorporate outsource type services within the bidding that you're putting forward? I mean, for example, do you say, yeah, well, here's our bid to host your conference in 3 years' time, but by the way, we're offering these and these technological global services that you might be interested in the 3 years.
Exactly.
So there are many different ways of, once you realize that the associations are constantly reviewing their strategic structures and their business models, you can start to then, as long as you interrogate them properly and find out about this, you can change the way that you position your offering as a supplier. And increasingly, the market is shifting between those who are offering commoditized products and those who are offering strategic partnerships. And if you're a strategic partner, you are trying constantly to look for other angles that build on that partnership, because you don't want to be outflanked by another outsourcer who's providing something else, who suddenly adds in meetings management services. They might be the brilliant communication agency stroke tech agency.
And they say, hey,
and they say,
well,
we can do this. We can just find our own tame local PCO to provide commoditized registration, content management, etc. And we'll focus on the marketing.
It's an important takeaway of today, I think.
It is. The competition is no longer the PCO in the next town or the next street. The competitor could be an ad agency or a PR agency or a web company or a company like yours.
Exactly.
You know, the issue of, or an association could be trying to jump in.
Serving other associations, exactly. So that's kind of, instead of helping you in these 2 hours and making your world more simple, we might have made your world a little bit more complex.
One of the great truisms of everything that we do is that we never make life simpler.
Exactly.
We might give some simple takeaways, but the world is complicated. And the more that people understand it is complicated, and ask the individual, this is the whole thing of associations, you cannot deal with it in a mass way. You've got to actually take the time to individually find out what makes that association tick. And outsourcing is just one part of that total equation.
Yeah. In the meantime, I see Jolien, our wonderful production manager here, and she's coming up with some, as we mentioned a couple of times, this whole show, for the 2nd year in a row, is sponsored by the Thailand Convention and Exhibition Bureau. So we thought, how about adding some Thai flavor into the meeting right here and closing off, since you guys are in the afternoon right now, you might be, after this session, maybe you have one more session, then you go for drinks. So. Although it's lunchtime here in Amsterdam.
Somewhere in the world it is past sundown, and so time for a beer.
So before we close down, we're going to cheers together with the whole crew, with Gerdie and everybody with a Thai beer, but not before we give our audience some pointers or where they can continue. For example, if they have become interested in ICCA. First of all, we talked in the pre-show about the virtual goodie bag that is on the website, where you can download this wonderful piece of publication, The Modern History of Association Meetings, but also can read all you want about ICCA, what it means, what it can be for you. And definitely you can read a lot and see a wonderful clip about Thailand as a business destination, and their payoff is Thailand Connect. And I think that is exactly what they have been doing here this morning, so that's wonderful. What else about ICCA, the Congress? Where's the Congress this year?
This year we're in Antalya in Turkey, the 1st to the 5th of November. So we already have more than 500 people registered, even though it's the beginning of July and we're meeting in November. So we're expecting 1,000 or 1,100. And unlike this meeting where it's primarily the front, the sales and marketing guys who are dealing with clients on a day-to-day basis, we tend to attract the thought leaders and the heads of businesses to the Congress. So it's 2/3 CEO and director level. And about, say, 1,000 or 1,100 people from about 70 countries.
So
one of the most global,
place to be.
Yeah, and this is where we'll be talking about the philosophical concepts and the way the market's moving. This event is much more about the practicalities. What do you do? The concrete steps.
And online, they go to ICCAworld.com, right?
ICCAworld.com, all the information about ICCA is there, our events, our programs, the downloadable things. The modern history, the history document, that's a freebie for anybody in the world, because we want to talk about the importance that associations play in the whole of global society and economy.
Exactly.
It's not just about ICCA.
Which reminds me, if you haven't done so, if you're still on the website, you can see that a little bit below, you can actually register, leave your details, so we can include you in the follow-up communication of this online event. In about 1.5 weeks, the videos of this whole show will be online. We'll notify you through an email right there. We'll filter out the survey results and the survey that you've been talking about. We can communicate that. So definitely, if you haven't done so, drop us your email address down there so we know who you are and we can actually follow up with you. Last thing before we close off right here, below the player there's a link where you can fill out a 1-minute survey about the show and how you experienced it. We definitely want you to do that so we can also keep on learning and improve this stuff, and definitely would like to know from you, if we do this again next year, what should we be talking about so we right on track and right on topic.
Exactly.
So that is kind of everything I had to do in the household message. I think, Gerdie, you did a wonderful job in the chat. People, you really got them going. Jarno, thank you very much for everything. It's time to say cheers.
Thanks to the online audience.
Thanks to the online audience.
Yeah.
I hope by
Thank
now
you.
you had a chance to grab a drink as well. We say cheers from Amsterdam. We're signing off,
Cheers.
and we hope to see you next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.
How will you inspire the minds of many? Will you provide new perspective that will allow others to see a world full of opportunities? Will you create a voice that captures the imagination of a kingdom? Will you share a welcoming smile that has others feel like royalty? Will you bring the world together via the speed of sound or the hush of a jungle? Will a rich culture and the arts become the fabric of your attendees? Will you stimulate their senses with cuisine envied by the world? Will you forever change the definition of a meeting room and inspire creativity in the beauty of silence? Will you redefine the meaning of work-life balance and create a venue that will have attendees feeling forever connected? Create the moments that inspire the minds of many. Connect people, inspire the world. Thailand.